The Divine Comedy, The Vision of Hell, Purgatory and Paradise, by Dante Aligieri, translated by the Reverend H. F. Carey, Massachusetts. Hell or the Inferno, Canto 1. In the midway of this our mortal life, I found me in a gloomy wood, astray, gone from the path direct, and e'en to tell it were no easy task, how savage wild that forest, how robust and rough its growth, which to remember only my dismay renews, in bitterness not far from death. Yet to discourse of what there good befell, all else will I relate discovered there. How first I entered it, I scarce can say. Such sleepy dullness in that instant weighed my senses down, when the true path I left. But when a mountain's foot I reached, where closed the valley that had pierced my heart with dread, I looked aloft and saw his shoulders broad already vested with that planet's beam, who leads all wanderers safe through every way. Then was a little respite to the fear, that in my heart's recesses deep had lain, all of that night so pitifully past. And as a man, with difficult short breath, forspent with toiling, scaped from sea to shore, turns to the perilous wide waste, and stands at gaze, e'en so my spirit, that yet failed, struggling with terror, turned to view the straits that none hath passed and lived. My weary frame, after short pause recomforted, again I journeyed on over that lonely steep. The hinder foot still firmer, scarce the ascent began, when lo, a panther, nimble, light, and covered with a speckled skin, appeared, nor when it saw me, vanished, rather strove to check my onward going, that oft times with purpose to retrace my steps I turned. The hour was morning's prime, and on his way aloft the sun ascended with those stars, that with him rose, when love divine first moved those its fair works, so that with joyous hope all things conspired to fill me, the gay skin of that swift animal, the matin dawn, and the sweet season. Soon that joy was chast, and by new dread succeeded, when in view a lion came, gainst me as it appeared, with his head held aloft and hunger mad, that e'en the air was fear-struck. A she-wolf was at his heels, who in her leanness seemed full of all wants, and many a land hath made disconsolate ere now. She with such fear o'erwhelmed me, at the sight of her appalled, that of the height all hope I lost. As one, who with his gain elated, sees the time when all unwares is gone, he inwardly mourns with heart-griping anguish. Such was I, haunted by that fell beast, never at peace, who coming o'er against me, by degrees impelled me where the sun in silence rests. While to the lower space with backward step I fell, my ken discerned the form one of one, whose voice seemed faint through long disuse of speech. When him in that great desert I espied, "Have mercy on me," cried I out aloud, "spirit, or living man, whate'er thou be." He answered, "Now not man, man once I was, and born of Lombard parents, Mantuana both by country, when the power of Julius yet was scarcely firm. At Rome my life was passed beneath the mild Augustus, in the time of fabled deities and false. A bard was I, and made Anchises' upright son the subject of my song, who came from Troy, when the flames preyed on Ilium's haughty towers. But thou say wherefore to such perils past return'st thou? Wherefore not this pleasant mount ascendest, cause and source of all delight? And art thou then that Virgil, that well-spring, from which such copious floods of eloquence have issued? I with front abashed replied, "Glory and light of all the tuneful train, may it avail me that I long with zeal have sought thy volume, and with love immense have conned it o'er. My master thou and guide, thou he from whom alone I have derived that style which for its beauty into fame exalts me. See the beast from whom I fled. O save me from her, thou illustrious sage. For every vein and pulse throughout my frame she hath made tremble." He, soon as he saw that I was weeping, answered, "Thou must needs another way pursue, if thou wouldst scape from out that savage wilderness. This beast, at whom thou criest, her way will suffer none to pass, and no less hindrance makes than death. So bad and so accursed in her kind, that never sated is her ravenous will, still after food more craving than before. To many an animal in wedlock vile she fastens, and shall yet to many more, until that greyhound come, who shall destroy her with sharp pain. He will not life support by earth nor its base metals, but by love, wisdom, and virtue. And his land shall be the land twixt either feltro. In his might shall safety to Italia's plains arise, for whose fair realm Camilla, virgin pure, Nisus, Euryalus, and Turnus fell. He, with incessant chase through every town, shall worry, until he to hell at length restore her, thence by envy first let loose. I for thy profit pondering now devise, that thou mayest follow me, and I thy guide will lead thee hence through an eternal space, where thou shalt hear despairing shrieks, and see spirits of old tormented, who invoke a second death. And those next view, who dwell content in fire, for that they hope to come, whene'er the time may be, among the blessed, into whose regions, if thou then desire to ascend, a spirit worthier than I must lead thee, in whose charge, when I depart, thou shalt be left. For that almighty King who reigns above, a rebel to his law, adjudges me, and therefore hath decreed that to his city none through me should come. He in all parts hath sway, there rules, there holds his citadel and throne. O happy those whom there he chooses. I to him in few, barred by that God whom thou didst not adore, I do beseech thee, that this ill and worse I may escape, to lead me where thou saidst, that I St. Peter's gate may view, and those who, as thou tell'st, are in such dismal plight. Onward he moved, I close his steps pursued. Canto 2. Now was the day departing, and the air, embrowned with shadows, from their toils released all animals on earth, and I alone prepared myself the conflict to sustain, both of sad pity and that perilous road, which my unerring memory shall retrace. O Muses, O high genius, now vouchsafe your aid. O mind, that all I saw hast kept safe in a written record, here thy worth and eminent endowments come to proof. I thus began, Bard, thou who art my guide, consider well, if virtue be in me sufficient, ere to this high enterprise thou trust me. Thou hast told that Silvius' sire, yet clothed in corruptible flesh, among the immortal tribes had entrance, and was there sensible present. Yet if heaven's great Lord, almighty foe to ill, such favour showed, in contemplation of the high effect, both what and who from him should issue forth, it seems in reason's judgment well deserved. Sith he of Rome, and of Rome's empire wide, in heaven's imperial height was chosen sire, both which, if truth be spoken, were ordained and stablished for the holy place, where sits who to great Peter's sacred chair succeeds. He from this journey, in thy song renowned, learned things that to his victory gave rise, and to the papal robe. In after times, the chosen vessel also travelled there, to bring us back assurance in that faith, which is the entrance to salvation's way. But I, why should I there presume? Or who permits it? Not Aeneas, Fern, nor Paul. Myself I deem not worthy, and none else will deem me. I, if on this voyage then I venture, fear it will in folly end. Thou who art wise, better my meaning know'st than I can speak. As one who unresolves what he hath late resolved, and with new thoughts changes his purpose, from his first intent removed, e'en such was I on that dun coast, wasting in thought my enterprise, at first so eagerly embraced. If right thy words I scan, replied that shade magnanimous, thy soul is by vile fear assailed, which oft so overcasts a man, that he recoils from noblest resolution, like a beast at some false semblance in the twilight gloom.